For centuries, four men stood above all others as the greatest conquerors the world had ever seen. Their empires stretched across continents, their armies reshaped civilizations, and their decisions changed the fate of millions. Yet, despite all their victories, each of them met an end that revealed something deeper, something far more human than the legends we remember. This is how Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, Genghis Khan, and Napoleon Bonaparte faced their final days. Alexander the Great had conquered the known world before the age of 30. Cities fell before him, kings bowed to him, and his empire stretched from Greece to India. But in 323 BC, inside the palace of Babylon, the unstoppable conqueror was suddenly struck by a violent fever. For days he grew weaker, unable to stand, then unable to speak. His generals, the same men who had marched with him for years, gathered around his bed in silence. When asked who should inherit his massive empire, Alexander managed only two words: "To the strongest." Days later, the king who had never lost a battle died at 32, leaving behind a world too large for anyone to control. His empire shattered almost instantly, torn apart by the very generals who had once sworn loyalty to him. More than 200 years later, Julius Caesar rose to power in Rome with the same unstoppable momentum. He was a general, a politician, and a visionary who reshaped the Roman Republic. But ambition in Rome was dangerous, and Caesar's rise created enemies even among his closest allies. On the Ides of March, 44 BC, he walked into the Senate believing he was about to negotiate peace. Instead, he found himself surrounded by men he trusted. As the knives came down, he saw Marcus Brutus among them. The shock broke him more than the blades. Moments later, Caesar collapsed at the foot of Pompey's statue, killed not by enemies, but by those who feared the world he was creating. His death shattered the Republic and began the chain of events that would birth the Roman Empire. Centuries after Caesar, another titan ruled the world, Genghis Khan. Feared from China to Europe, he united the Mongol tribes and forged the largest land empire in human history. Yet his death remains one of history's greatest mysteries. In 1227, during a campaign against the Western Shah dynasty, Genghis Khan suffered an injury. Historians still debate whether it was from battle, a fall from his horse, or illness. What is certain is that he refused to retreat. He continued leading his army, pushing forward until his strength finally collapsed. He died in his tent surrounded by his generals, demanding that his burial place remain secret forever. To this day, no one has found his tomb, and with his death, the Mongol Empire entered a new era, one carried on by his sons, but never quite with the same unity. The last of the great conquerors met his end far from the world he once dominated. Napoleon Bonaparte rose from obscurity to become Emperor of France, reshaping Europe through war, law, and ambition. But after his defeat at Waterloo, he was exiled to the remote island of St. Helena, an ocean prison surrounded by endless waves. There, in a small, damp house, the man who once commanded millions slowly wasted away. Illness, isolation, and years of reflection drained him of the fire he once carried. In 1821, at just 51 years old, Napoleon died whispering the same words he had lived by. France, army, Josephine. His empire was gone, but his legacy would shape Europe for the next century. Four conquerors, four very different deaths. Yet the same lesson echoes from each of their stories. No matter how vast the empire, no matter how powerful the ruler, every life ends the same way, with a final moment that strips away legend and reveals the mortal truth beneath it. They changed the world, but they could not escape the fate that awaits all men. And in that final chapter, their humanity became clearer than ever.